My guest today is a game designer whose work reshaped the landscape of competitive multiplayer video games. Raised on a barracks in County Kildare, he grew up in an army family with little more than an Atari 2600 for company. He studied fine art in college, taught himself web design, and then spent years freelancing, even moving to Brazil, before rediscovering video games through the DayZ mod for Arma 2. What began as hobbyist tinkering on Reddit forums became something much bigger when he created the Battle Royale mod in 2013, inspired by the cult Japanese film. 3 years later, the mod became PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. PUBG's brutal 100-player survival format exploded into a global sensation, helping cement the Battle Royale genre as a dominant force in modern video games. Now, through PlayerUnknown Productions, he has returned to his fascination with emergent storytelling with Prologue Go Way Back, a game that challenges players to navigate nature's unforgiving systems and carve their own path through the wilderness. Welcome, Brendan Greene.
Thanks so much, Simon. Great to be here.
Yeah, lovely to see you, Brendan. So let's start with the new game. It's currently in early access. What is it, in your own words?
So it was, we originally set out when we started this project 5-6 years ago now. I just wanted to make a bigger survival game that had been made, which was like 100 by 100 kilometers. And we found the way to do that would be to build the world generatively rather than using thousands of artists, because that kind of scale of world, already 8 by 8 kilometer worlds, take years to make with large teams of artists. So we developed our machine learning algorithm that understands terrain, and Prologue is the first production release of this tech. So within Unreal, we use an ML agent to essentially generate a small, like a 2K pixel square image, a height map, which is just a black and white image that shows you where the height is in the world. And then we put that into Unreal and use their procedural systems in Unreal to populate the world with trees and assets and cabins and such. So it allows us to essentially generate an 8 by 8 map. Instead of taking years, now we can do it probably in 2 months now that the tech is kind of mature. So we had a mod jam over Christmas where we had a desert mod that one of the guys did, Battling Against the Heat, which was done by a single artist. So to sum up, really, it's a test of our terrain generation technology and maturing it to a stage where it builds not just forests with cabins, but forests with paths and various biomes and bigger points of interest that aren't just cabins scattered. So that's the aim during early access, that we add more depth to the environment, to the world. And then by 1.0, we should have a world generation engine or world generation system that can be used by players or the creators to create single player experiences.
Okay, right. So the map, this 10 by 10, 100 by 100K map, is it different each game, or have you got one that's like...
In Unreal, we can only do 8 by 8 right now because of the way we import the map, and 8 by 8 is maths wise, it's about as big as we can do. So the 100 by 100 will be our next game. That's where we go up to that scale.
Okay.
But yes, in Unreal 8 by 8s, we can essentially do infinite maps. It's guided generation. So from every, we have a river schematic. So we just have about 50 various river layouts. And from that, it infers what the rest of the map looks like, where it puts mountains, the starting cabin, all that. But because you can have 2.6 billion variations from a single schematic, it essentially gives you infinite terrain.
Okay.
And it's guided by the artists, which is what I want to see. It's not completely random. It's more guided by the team.
Okay. What's the benefit of that rather than having a carefully orchestrated map that people can get to know, like each time they play the game, they know the different sites and places to go, all of that?
So for me, it was one of the reasons I created Battle Royale was that I was watching, smaller FPS games, and it was all about how much you knew the map. And for me, Battle Royale was about pitting players against players, no matter where the map would end. And this was kind of my take then on doing that with survival games, that, yeah, you don't know the map. The challenge is figuring out your direction, figuring out where you are, figuring out how to get to the weather tower. And the map is the challenge, rather than it being something that you get to know. You will learn how to read maps and how to read the terrain, but the crossing the terrain, the journey is the challenge of the game.
We're going to talk about Battle Royale a lot and PUBG in this conversation, I'm sure. But for now, like, you know, this new game that you're working on, it feels a lot more sedate. There's no sort of shrinking circle, no like chaos of all the different players in there fighting and all of that, as far as I know. So why did you want to make a game that's more about survival in nature rather than conflict?
Well, I mean, for me, it was what was the easiest way to test the tech that allows you to generate a new map every time you play. So for me, getting from one side of the map to the other was at the time, I just thought this would be the easiest way to test this kind of tech. So it wasn't about trying to follow on with another shooter game or trying to do something different. I just thought for this type of world generation system, a simple survival game would be the easiest way to get across it. And the team have created something that, even though it might not have the tension of other people shooting at you, when you're down to 25 degrees body temperature and you're racing to try to find a cabin, there is tension there. And I have missed jumping up on steps because I'm literally shaking trying to get into the cabin, trying to keep myself warm. So there is that level of tension there. It's just in a kind of a different way. But what I find most useful about the game is that when I need literally an escape, like instead of going outside, I might not have the time, but I need an hour where I just need to clear my head. I just spin up prologue and go for a run through the forest where all I'm focused on is keeping warm and keeping dry. And it allows me to get some sheer headspace, which I find very useful.
PUBG is one of the most significant games, I would say, of the last 20 years. It literally changed the landscape of video games in some ways, which is great. But also it means that making another game after that is stressful. How have you dealt with, the expectations, I suppose, not only just other people's ones, but, your own expectations of yourself, like you've made a game that's changed the world. How do you follow that?
I don't try to. Like, I know myself that having a game like this is really like a once in a lifetime thing. I don't go out with the hope that my next game is going to be as big as PUBG. I think that's folly, right? I mean, I just try to make things I love, and I try to focus on that. And prologue and survival is where I kind of fell back in love with gaming. So really, it's kind of, I'm just pursuing the games I like to play rather than trying to fit a trend or try to follow up with the next biggest thing, because that's just not the path I want to take.
I mean, yeah, you say that, but the game is in early access, which by definition means that you're taking on feedback from players and monitoring what they're doing, et cetera, et cetera. What has that process taught you so far, and how do you sift, the feedback from other people with the thing that you want to make and cleaving to your own vision?
Well, so I've always, I built Battle Royale with feedback from the community from the very get-go, from the modding stage, and the same here. So we initially were going to go into early access in August last year, but we pushed it a few months because from the feedback we received from our open beta, we saw players wanted to experience the world in different ways. And yes, I was set on making a very hard survival game, but seeing the feedback, especially in our Discord, of people just wanting to free roam and explore the maps. We had one guy that came up with a video coming up to a cabin overlooking a valley saying, "Please enable saving. I found where I would like to live." This kind of you give people like cam in 3D almost, right? Like this space to escape to. So like it was interesting going into early access because we went out of the bubble of Discord where you tend to have people who generally like what you're doing and support what you're doing. And then you get Steam forum reviews. And it was really heartening because we started off with, I think, about a 55% positive review rate. But now lately we got up to, I think, 84% the last time I checked with recent reviews. So that's just a credit to the team to taking on board the feedback. But from all the feedback, even the negative and mixed comments, they all tend to say, well, we can see what this could be. It just needs more work. And that's exactly why we're doing early access, right? Because I want to build this with the community. We're leaving the files unencrypted so people can mod it if they want to. The whole aim with this is not just a single player game, but to leverage this kind of world generation technology to allow players to create their own experiences all over the place, right? Like whatever they want, rather than trying to define this is like in the game already. We have free roam, we have survival mode where you just survive as long as you want, alongside the story mode. So yeah, it's about providing this open platform with the community's help rather than trying. I have, of course, how I want the game to be, but I'm very open to hearing how people experience it and want to change it. And I've learned that through PUBG, that there are people that want to make the game easier for themselves, of course, and then there's people that you can see they want to make the systems better for everyone. And I think I've got a pretty good handle on sort of separating that at this stage.
Right, super interesting. And where do you have any hard lines? If people are saying, "Oh, can you make it so that we can have 10 people on a map and they can all shoot each other and all of that?" Obviously, the game then becomes something quite different.
Well, I usually say, don't make me tap the sign. This is no. I mean, we've looked into doing sort of an asynchronous multiplayer where you can play with like the ghost of your friend, like in Dark Souls, because we have a seed-based generation system. If you share it with a friend, you get the same map, same weather, same loot, same cabin position. So you essentially have the same map. I really would like to enable co-op multiplayer, so 4 friends can take on the map together. But we first want to focus on making sure the map that people play is rich and detailed enough that it has paths and trails and like infrastructure, like power lines and stuff like that. So it feels like a coherent map rather than sort of a more procedurally generated one. So this is the aim over early access. And then through the DLCs, I would like to add co-op multiplayer, but it does require a serious coding effort and a refactoring of a lot of stuff. So right now we're more focused on getting the tech mature than sort of looking to let feature creeps.
Yeah, makes
or let
sense.
features creep rather.
And I suppose what does success look like for you with this game? Because you've got a very warped idea of what success is, I would say, in game development. So yeah, what are your metrics here for when you'll be satisfied?
For me, it's if I see a great selection of mods made from the game, seeing good community interaction, sharing of seeds and maps. We already have people speed running maps because it's the same seed, although they tend to do distance running now because it's more like an orienteering game. So like that guys that go in a straight line from A to B. We actually had to add a decimal into the distance, the distance tracker, because we had one distance run where everyone was getting 6 or 7 kilometers. So we had to add in 2 decimal places so we could get it slightly more accurate, because it was down to people within, I think the top 2 were within 20 meters of each other. Something like this. It was a very close run. So for me, it's if people start using the platform, generating their own experiences and game modes, that for me is a success.
All right, Brendan, we better come to the premise of the podcast. I've asked you to pick the 5 video games you'd like to put on your ideal fictional games machine. Yeah, very specific kind of games you've got here. So excited to hear you talk about them. We're going back to the 1970s for your first one, or at least the first of this style of game. Tell us, what's the game and why do you love it?
So it's multi-user dungeons, or MUDs. This was my first introduction to multiplayer gaming. I remember it was when I was my first year in college. So this would have been the late 90s at this stage. And my friend was studying engineering, and he brought me over to the computer lab in his college in Kevin Street in Dublin. And they had Telnet, and he showed me a MUD. And the fact that you could experience other players playing with you, that just blew my mind. It was something I had never seen before. And I didn't play a lot of MUDs, but I had the chance lately to meet one of the creator. What's his name?
Richard Bartle, is it?
Yes, Richard Bartle. I met him at a conference, and we had some great conversations, and he spoke with our company a few times. So that was a really nice kind of closing of the circle. But for me, MUDs were my first introduction to playing with other players, and it just blew my mind. It was, as I said, it wasn't something that I played a lot of, but I would happily go back to it because it was one of those core gaming memories for me.
Yeah, just explain for anyone who doesn't know what a mud is. Like, what do you do? How does it work?
It's type based, so it's like go forward, go left, go right, and then it comes up. You're in a room. On the left is this, on the right is, or there is another person in the room. This kind of thing. So it's a text based adventure game essentially. That I experienced first on Telnet.
Yeah, great stuff. All right, Brendan, let's come to your story then. So tell me, I said in the introduction you grew up on an army base in County Kildare. Just paint the scene for us. What was that? What was that like? How big was it? What could you see?
Well, no. So the army base in Kildare, it's the Curragh camp. So the Curragh camp is the main training base for the Irish Army. They have the officer school there, or cadet school. And my dad was an officer in the Signal Corps. I mean, life there was pretty, not terribly exciting, but like we had obstacle courses that the army would have that we could run on the weekends. Would borrow some of my dad's military gear and go play army with friends. So from kind of a very early age, I was very much into the military end of things. The Ranger Wing in Ireland would practice on a house behind us, so you get to see them sort of attack houses, and sometimes they'd come over and show you the weapons they had or they were using. You'd find maybe an empty shell of a flashbang grenade they'd used, this kind of stuff. So from a very early age, I was buying guns and ammo when I was like 16, 17, reading about guns. So from a very early age, I was very much into the military and that kind of style of games.
Mm-hmm. And how did that work then? Were you educated on the base, or did you go out to school?
Oh no, I mean the army bases in Ireland are not closed off. You can drive through it. It's
right.
We're a neutral country, so it's a defense force more than anything else. And yeah, no, I went to school in a convent about 10 miles away in Cuchulainn, called the Cross and Passion. So quite a standard Irish upbringing. Not super exciting. I remember there was like going to my first club when I was like 17, a local club. But at home, my dad had an old 386 laptop, and I remember installing one of the early flight simulators on it, and a few other PC games. But Delta Force Black Hawk Down was the first game that I really latched onto and played a lot of.
And you've got all this, like you say, military paraphernalia and training happening all around you. Was that sort of, did you ever think, oh, this is what I might like to do with my life?
Oh, well, I actually applied for the Irish Army, but I was color deficient in red or blue or green red. So I failed the entrance exam essentially.
Right.
So I could have very easily been in the military apart from a slight red-green color deficiency. They said I was red-green colorblind, but I checked myself and I'm not. I mean, I have a slight deficiency, of course, but that's enough to fail entry into the army.
Oh, okay, interesting. And what kind of kid were you then? Were you pretty quiet and creative, or?
Yeah, no, I was a bit of a nerd. Probably not in a good way. I was very introverted, not very, and still am to this day. I'm the guy that goes to a pub and sits in the corner by himself rather than interacting with people at the bar. So yeah, very kind of introverted. I did fine art, so I was quite creative that way. I liked creating, but yeah, I was quite a quiet kid.
And I said in the intro, you got an Atari 2600 when you were pretty small. What do you remember about that arriving in the house?
Just the fact that we had a console. I loved the Atari, but my friend had a Commodore 64. And I was just so jealous of that. Like, because I had these like the Atari 2600, it's great. But at the time, this was kind of mid-90s. Stuff had moved on a little bit.
Quite a lot.
Yes. Yeah, so I was stuck with these kind of 2D platform games, essentially. And there was some great games there, but my friend had a Commodore 64, and I would be over in his house whenever I could, learning how basic programming and stuff like this in Commodore. Scott's a fool, haha, and then go to line 10.
Excellent. And what were those sort of games that you disappeared into, and what role did they have in your life? Was it for you and your brother playing together, or were they kind of escapism?
No, at that stage I wasn't really that much of a gamer. I mean, my brother Damien, he really loved. He had a PS1. He was one of those guys that played Gran Turismo like the 6-hour or 24-hour race. So would come down, have some dinner, go back up, and continue. Like, he's super into cars, so he was much more of into games than I was. At the time, I had a big love of music and DJing. So that was kind of where I was spending a lot of my time. Had a pair of decks, so I was I was DJing a lot more than I was gaming.
Right, so you went out to that club at 16, and that kind of set you on a new path to a certain degree.
Yeah, and I've always loved music. I like drumming, this kind of stuff. So at that stage of my life, I had seen some. Well, this was now about 17, 18. I had seen some scratch DJs and stuff like this, and that really kind of inspired me. I was very much into music, so I thought DJing was the natural step up from that.
Going into the military or scratch DJing. Those are your two paths.
or becoming a drummer, and that I thought, my parents were not a big fan of that. So DJing was a lot easier.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's come to your second game. You have mentioned it already. This came out in 2003 for PC. What's the game, Brendan? Why'd you love it?
It's Delta Force Black Hawk Down. And I like this because, again, it's milsim. It's realism. It's what I like from the kind of games I want to play, which is a realistic fighting simulator, essentially. The thing I loved about Delta Force Black Hawk Down was, the campaign was interesting and I liked it. It was very sort of centered around military operations and stuff, and I thought that was kind of cool. But it was more the multiplayer aspect that really locked me in. The variety of maps, the custom maps you could play, being in tunnel maps with your saw and just trying to get to the next corner, just a lot of fun, and just seeing the creativity of these map builders and how they used various setups to create very unique experiences. This really drew me in.
Yeah, right. And so it's a first-person shooter. Is it kind of like Counter-Strike, or what sort of a bit more realistic than that?
No, it's bigger maps, I would say, especially from the custom game end. Right. It's got realistic ballistics, which is one of the reasons I loved it, because I loved sniping, and I run a kilometer out the back of the base and then run around the side out a kilometer, and then you're aiming off the scope, so like down past the mil dots. And I really liked that, because to me that was not competitive, but it was a challenge. It was like you would see a guy, he'd spawn, run into his position, and then wait a while, and then just take him out. And just seeing that you could shoot someone from over a kilometer away and get a kill. That really, I saw it as a nice learning curve and a nice skill to have. Yeah. It was funny, not to jump to the third game, but I didn't play sniper in that game because I wasn't good enough. In Black Hawk Down, because the maps are so big, you can be a sniper and stuff like that. But with America's Army 2, it's you have to work more closely as a team. Whereas Delta Force Black Hawk Down is a little bit more chaotic. Right. I loved it for that.
And is it based at all on the movie or on the actual history?
I believe so.
Right.
Yeah, no, I think it's actually based, the mission, I believe, is based on what actually happened in maybe in the movie. I didn't look it, but I think it has some relation to it.
All right, yeah, interesting.
Because it's set in the same place, so I would assume.
Yeah. Okay, let's come back to your story then, Brendan. So yeah, we've left you. You've got sort of a few different potential paths you can take. What happens next? You finish school. Where does that land you?
Yeah. So then I finished school, and I go to college and study fine art, sculpture, and do that, and that's fine. But then after leaving college, I was dating a girl whose brother was a multimedia designer. He had one of the first kind of web design agencies in Ireland, and she was a graphic designer. And through that relationship, I learned a lot more about graphic design. And being an artist in Ireland, it's quite a closed circle. And yeah, for me, it wasn't. I didn't see it as a route I wanted to pursue. Whereas graphic design was something that I could, sell myself pretty well with. I picked it up pretty quickly, learning web design as well. I was around at the early days. I remember boo.com, this kind of stuff. So, I was there at the very start of the web. I was spending a lot of time on web. So I just saw it as I had that sort of creative instinct, and this kind of was a natural avenue for me.
And do you start as a freelancer then with graphic design?
I went working with. I first started as a company that did. What is the term I'm looking for? When you wrap two things in a thing of plastic. Laminating. There we go.
Yeah.
Laminating. It was a laminating company that also had like a graphic design part. So I joined this company doing some basic graphic design layouts and stuff like this, and was there for I think about a year or so, and then moved to an insurance agency essentially as their web designer, and helped them design intranets. They did stuff for government. I remember being in a room of 20 different people from various departments trying to design an intranet for one of the departments in the Irish government. So that was quite fun. And then after that, I went freelance for quite a bit, and then just did freelance design, graphic design. And I also did photography in college. So occasionally would do some event photography.
All right, okay. And what have you sort of fallen out of love with video games during this period? Have you got? Did they retreat a bit?
Well, it was more the games I had downloaded and tried. So I tried, I think, Assassin's Creed 3 and a few others. And I guess like towards the end, I wasn't challenged enough. There was like hitting one key. I had grown up. Maybe one of the games I should put into my box is Doom. Because I remember, spending weeks trying to finish some of those final levels because, I found them pretty tough. So for me, the games weren't getting hard enough. They were kind of, getting too easy towards the end. It was far too linear. And it wasn't that I kind of fell out of love, but it didn't really hit me the same way that music or photography or art did. I saw it because I was never into the more fantasy role-playing stuff, never got into WoW. This area of games was not really my interest. So that's why I kind of came back to that third game, America's Army, because after Delta Force Black Hawk Down, it was what I kind of rolled into after, trying a few of the more story-based games. And again, because I was going out on weekends and DJing and stuff like that, most of my evenings were I was doing other stuff anyway, so I didn't really have. It was either invest in decks or invest in a nice gaming PC.
All right, yeah.
Mine was always invest in sound.
Yeah, fair enough. And I mentioned in the intro you moved to Brazil around this time. I think you got married or something like that. Tell us, what was that's a pretty big jump to make. What happened?
Yeah, no, I met a lovely Brazilian woman in Ireland. Fell in love, went back to Brazil. She was moving back. I followed. We got married, but then after a few years, we decided to go our separate ways. And I was there in Brazil by myself. And I was looking for some way to pass the time because I kind of lost a big friends group as well through the separation. So I was essentially there by myself. I was working as a freelance designer and photographer. Money wasn't massive there. I was making enough to survive, but I really wanted to try to, occupy myself and not go out so much and try to save some cash. So I had discovered the DayZ mod I think it was on Reddit, there was this zombie survival game people were talking about. So I got myself Arma 2, downloaded the DayZ mod, and then I was introduced to emergent gameplay. And this really excited me. This idea that I could do whatever I wanted, that there were some base rules to the world, but really the story was yours to tell. This was something that I hadn't seen in games before in my experience. And this really sort of ignited a new passion for games and what you could do with games. And then through DayZ Mod, I had my own DayZ Mod server for a while, and tried various small kind of games within that mod server. I tried adjusting the map to make it more interesting for players. But this kind of emergent world building really ignited a fire in me I didn't know I had.
Well, we better come to your third game because we're getting slightly ahead of ourselves with your game choices here, aren't we? So you've mentioned your third game, yeah.
Yeah, so America's Army 2. I discovered it. I can't remember exactly where I discovered it, but again, I was looking for some kind of military simulation, a realistic game. And what I loved about it was that, like, you had to do, if you had no tactics with your team, you're just going to die. You know, if you just rush, you're just going to die. As I said, I didn't play sniper in that game because you really had to be very good, know every spot. Like in CSGO, you need to know where to position yourself. And because I had never played the game, I always went just as simple infantry because, you know, there were much better people playing the game. Eventually, I learned to be good enough that I would try sniping occasionally, but again, there were just much better snipers. But I just liked the fact that if you died, you had to wait. And that was it. And you watch your team, and it really put a lot of emphasis on consequences of action. And I really liked that. And it was still emergent because there were different tactics every time, you know, like trying to take the bridge in particular ways, trying different. So that I played that for quite a while because I liked the fact that it made you suffer if you did something stupid. And that's the kind of game I like to make.
Yeah, right. It's interesting because, of course, America's Army, that series is funded by the US government and the US military.
And I actually met the developers at, I think it was GDC, when I gave a talk in the second year. The developers came up and said, "Oh, thanks for shouting us out." You know, but at the time I didn't know it was made by the Defense Department until I did a bit of reading, and then was like, "Oh, it's made by the Defense Department," and you could see why, right? I mean,
it's a recruitment tool essentially, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes. And but this Irish man probably won't join an army and can't join an army because I'm colour deficient. So hey,
yeah, that's the only reason. But I guess I bring that up because it's interesting that, you know, I suppose that's why they have those consequences, and the fact that if you die in the game, they punish you a bit for that, or make you wait, etc., etc. So that's a kind of game design element that's coming out of the fact that this is, you know, supposed to be teaching young people, you know, something that you can't just rush in and be Rambo, right?
No, exactly. And that's the kind of game I like, is that you have to think, you have to strategize. And I mean, I had a chance to see Matt Dalio speak at a conference. And he has a great idea where he sees games as this very useful tool to teach kids what they want to do in life. And I guess America's Army is one aspect of that, where, you know, yes, the military trying to make fighting seem cool, and this is the way you do it, but using games as a platform, not just for recruitment for militaries and stuff, but to help kids understand what do they love to do. Like, I have a daughter that when she was 15, 16, she was trying to figure out what she wanted to do. And I told her, just you figure out what you love to do, and if you can pursue that, then you'll never work a day in your life. And she loves to help people, and now she's training to be an EMT, a firefighting EMT, which I'm just super proud of. It's what she loves to do. She gets to help people. She gets to be active, which she loves to do. So I think games in that space can be very useful for helping people figure out what it is they love to do and how to pursue that in a real career.
Yeah, very interesting. I don't know, there aren't that many firefighting video games, are there? There's probably a few on PC, but
I don't think so. It's the same as because I was discussing this yesterday with a friend that it's the same as my brother was always saying to me, why don't you make a rugby game? I'm like, because I think it's just too niche. I think it's
Jonah Lomu had one, didn't he?
Yeah,
back
there
in
was
the
a
late
few
90s
made,
or something.
but again, it's a little it's a little too niche to be a big hit, I guess. So yeah, I don't know. It disappoints me a lot about the gaming industry in that there's a lot of these niche games that never get made because the data just won't support it. But there are these niche groups of players that would love a really seriously built game. But this is capitalism, I guess.
Yeah, I guess, and in the 80s when the cost to make a game was so much lower, both financially but also creatively, you could do quite experimental things, couldn't you? But it's harder and harder these days.
Well, this is the reason we're doing the tech and prologue is because to make an 8x8 map, you see so many of these great ideas for survival games that are often held up by the map size, and they keep having to add to the map in chunks. Whereas our tech will allow a small team to do an 8x8 map within a few months, and then you can focus on the gameplay and adding the loops and adding the depth to the world, and you could focus on the fun essentially. So I think this is where. Again, it could be another aspect of success if we can make this tool or make this tech into a tool for indie devs to use. So as a small team, you can really make big things without having to employ massive numbers of artists.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, I think what we'll do is let's skip to your fourth game now, because this is so intimately bound up with this part of your story. So,
yes.
Tell us, what's your fourth game? Came out in 2006.
Yeah, so my fourth game is Arma 2, and very specifically the DayZ mod. This was the game that brought me back to gaming. It allowed me to see emergent storytelling, emergent worlds, how you could use systemic design to create essentially a digital space for you to do whatever you wanted. After discovering the DayZ mod, I obviously discovered then the whole Arma ecosystem and the modding ecosystem. And this reminded me greatly of the Delta Force Black Hawk Down days. But again, most of the mods, you see it even nowadays. You have the new game from Bulkhead, War Dogs, which is essentially King of the Hill, which was one of the more popular game modes in Arma, and they used Sumatra to help make this, which is just wonderful. I love seeing, this mod maker who has made one of the most popular mods in Arma, getting to make his own game, much like I did, getting to make it from Battle Royale. So This is why I love Arma, because the possibilities it gives you and the support that Bohemia show to the creators has been outstanding. Their wiki for how to code in Arma it should be industry standard for games, right? The amount of data they give you to allow you to create your own experiences is just amazing. I remember being in one of the forums once and someone was asking, can you allow us to mess with gravity or change the gravity settings, because they wanted to build some kind of space game using the Arma platform. So, that's a game I put in my perfect console, because I don't think I'd ever be bored. Yeah. I think I could create whatever experience I want. And it had just such a huge effect seeing the sort of the camaraderie of the community within the Arma modding scene, where it was people were just helping each other. I used a lot of mods, a lot of islands, and it was all there for you to use as long as you weren't charging for it, because that's the joy of modding, which is you're doing it as a passion project and to give back to the community, which I did with Battle Royale as well.
So specifically with DayZ, you're in Brazil, you don't have loads of money to be going out, you see this Reddit post that tells you about a game. What was it about the post on Reddit that made you think, oh, this is for me?
Oh, I liked the idea of a zombie survival game. That was the main thing. It was like,
Right.
okay, this is a zombie survival game. I like this. I downloaded it. First thing I spawned, and then I didn't have a compass, no map, but I was running and I saw Green Mountain. I thought, yay. So I ran for another bit and I ran in a circle. And then I saw Green Mountain again. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, excuse my French, but I had ran for, something like an hour. And I literally ran in a circle, and I thought this was the most amazing thing ever. That like I had got lost in this game, and then I was just more convinced than ever. Okay, I need to learn how to play this game. I need to learn how to navigate, get to know the world, and it really sucked me in. Like one of my real core gaming memories was I joined a small squad. It was back when there was only one helicopter on the map, and it was on Siliski Island, and you have to get a bunch of stuff to go get it. And we had done that, and then we were waiting on the edges of a clearing for our friend to fly it back and pick us up. And those minutes while you're waiting for the helicopter to land, and then you get to run and get onto it and escape. Like I remember to this day, the heart beating, like just like a real like adrenaline moment that I had never really experienced in any other game. Was this situation, or the possibility of this situation happening? And then seeing the amount of DayZ mods. I remember there was one. It was one of these maps that had like 1,000 helicopters, 1,000 everything, right? Just they had done everything. And I was in a little bird, and I was being chased by I think like a bigger aircraft. I can't remember what, but I managed to escape by flying really low. And at the end, I was shaking, but I'd escaped. So this kind of the ability to tell these stories or have these stories experienced, for me, it was it's that lovely meme of your mind just exploding, right? Of seeing, okay, this is what was possible in games. Now look what you can do. So yeah, I mean, to this day, I love the game, and even what they're doing now with Arma 3 in giving creator DLCs, which is just amazing. I mean, allowing these like passionate mod makers to monetize their own work through the game they love. Yeah, I think they're doing such great things in the gaming space.
Yeah, great stuff. So tell us, how do you, it's one thing to fall in love with an emergent storytelling platform like DayZ. It's another thing to try and build your own. What made you take that step?
So it was just a DayZ mod server first. So I learned that I could add stuff to the map and make the map more interesting because I was creative anyway. I created DayZ Cherno Plus, which is the name of our server. And I told a new story that there was military bases more all over the island now. Yeah. We made some interesting spots. And then we had quite a popular DayZ mod server. We were getting 60, 70 players, most nights. I would just sit on the player list, kicking people with low bandwidth because of the way that the network in Arma works. But I had created a castle where it was kind of a little bit like, I in my mind at the time it was CSGO. So 4 people start one side, 4 people start the other side. It's a mirror image with a center choke point. Because of the loot system, once you restart the server, you would have new loot every time. So what I would do over the weekends was try to see if we could have some team battles and just have 4 people, and I had stands for people to watch. It wasn't super successful. Most people just wanted to play DayZ, but it was me just experimenting with trying to create game modes. And then I worked on a small mod called DayZ Civilian, I think, not for very long, but it was just trying to understand how to make a full mod rather than just having a server. Like a server was pretty easy to do, but making your own mod, that was a bigger challenge. So, I got some advice from their team and then set about making my own mod for Battle Royale. And again, I made it because I saw there was an event on DayZ called the Survivor Games. Brian Hickson and Jordan Taylor created it. It was based on the Hunger Games. And but it was controlled by admins. They had offline maps and there was nothing automatic, and it was for streamers only. And I wasn't a streamer. And I thought, I really want to play something like this, because it kind of was what I was trying to create with inside in my own server. So I thought, okay, let's see if I can build this myself using code from the Arma forums, other stuff like this. And it took me about a month and a half to write the first 2,000 lines of code for the original game mode. And I launched it on Reddit via a story. It was basically like the rumors of this island where this fight to the death took place because we had no internet anymore. Some silly story like this. But I got some very good traction on the DayZ subreddit.
And just to jump in, Brendan. So,
oh yeah, sorry, I tend to meander a little.
No,
so
it's
please
great.
cut me off.
It's great. I just want to check a couple of things. So yeah, you mentioned obviously the inspiration of the Hunger Games, which was a series of novels and then became the very popular film series. And, similar as well to the Japanese story Battle Royale, although the author of the Hunger Games says that she never read Battle Royale. But anyway.
I know, right? Yes, let's take that at face value.
Okay.
And not think she's,
But so in the premise of that, there's sort of a group of competitors that dropped into a rural setting, and there's they have to run and collect a load of different weapons, which could be a bow and arrow or a grenade, whatever it would be. So which, with those very earliest versions, what were you taking from those stories and how well did it work?
So, the first iteration, we had a circular, the very first iteration had a circular set of, I think it was 24 players at the time. So it just had you would spawn on your point and there was a cornucopia in the center and then you just run. But then after thinking about Battle Royale a little bit more, I decided to spawn everyone inside a barn, basically, because originally I wanted the school building built. So I wanted to replicate more like the movie where you had...
The Battle Royale movie, this is.
Exactly, yeah. So what I did was where we put everyone into a big barn, and then you had 24 backpacks at the other end of the barn. Some of them would contain medical equipment. Some would contain maybe a pistol with one mag, or maybe a pistol with no mag, maybe one with a grenade when we added a chainsaw. Maybe one of them would have a chainsaw, but it was either run straight out of the building and try to get to the nearest town, or take your chances and see if you could get a good bag. And that was always fun because, when we introduced the chainsaw, you'd hear that start up and then you would just see people scattering, which was a lot of fun. We had zombies at that stage as well. I added a few too many at one stage, and there was something like 100 or so zombies around the starting location, which didn't go well. But it was more based on the idea that at that time I had 4 maps when DayZ Battle Royale was at its peak. And you started in the barn, but you didn't know what map you were going to get until you went outside the barn. And then you would see, okay, I'm on this map, and then have to strategize from then.
All right.
That was the basis we had. When you were outside the zone, I would spawn zombies on you. So when you're running into the zone, you'd have a trail of zombies behind you, trying to eat you. So it was much more a zombie survival, and there were longer rounds. I think it was like a 90-minute round.
Blimey.
It was, like 24 players, 90 minutes. It was a proper survival battle royale rather than a much more higher paced. I think 15, 20 minutes is kind of the average for battle royale, which I don't love, but yeah.
Yeah. And so you post this post on Reddit doing the backstory and telling people about your server, basically. At what point does it blow up?
Pretty much straight away. Once I launched the servers, at the time, Arma had no way to lock and restart servers automatically. You have to do that manually. So I had 6 servers running. I had 6 Orcon panels up on my screen so I could see the chat. And from day one, the servers were filling in 30 seconds or less.
Wow.
So it would just fill up. I would lock start, fill up, lock start. And I did this for about 36 hours and then had to tweet out going, I need to sleep now, guys. I'm very sorry. I'll be back in 7 hours, and start it again. And I remember seeing in the Orcon chat of God, I've waited 2 days to get into play this. I can finally play it. So at that stage, I knew I had something that people wanted to play.
You'd made like an exclusive club, hadn't you?
Essentially, yeah. It was
And you're the doorman.
That needs sleep occasionally. But eventually we did find a way. And Arma, to their credit, they worked with us and they put in an automatic lock and restart feature. So that helped me when I moved to Arma 3.
Right. Okay. So, I mean, yeah, you've built this very successful thing. It's blowing up, but at the same time, there's no real mechanism for you to earn any money from your invention here. So, yeah, this is where you get the invitation from Sony to do some consultation on a version of your game that they want to make. Tell me how that came about.
Yeah, so I had moved the mod to Arma 3, taken out the zombies, made it more akin to the Battle Royale that everyone knows today, which is dropping out of a plane. Initially, it was just dropping you over the center of the island, but then we put a plane in, so dropping you out of a plane, having the circle, essentially the Battle Royale game mode that most people know. There was a streamer called Lyric who was playing it quite frequently and would always come back. He would stop playing for 3 months, but then would come back and play and then be hooked again. And he always had this thing, just one more game. And then, 8 hours later, he's still playing one more game. But a game designer in H1Z1 called Alan Clegg, was a fan of Lyric, and so I'm playing this game mode and suggested to John Smedley that maybe this would be a good fit as a game mode for their upcoming title H1Z1. So John reached out via Twitter. We had a phone call. I visited San Diego. They thought I wasn't going to give them permission to add it because their game wasn't as realistic as as Arma. But little did they know that I had actually turned off a lot of the realism features in Arma, like stamina, because I don't like stamina, this kind of stuff, to make it a little bit more arcadey than Arma was. But I still saw this as a great opportunity to get the game mode out in front of more people and not have them have the hassle of downloading, installing mods and that whole process that a lot of players just don't want to do. So I saw this as a great opportunity to get in front of people. And it's something John Smedley said to me. He said, look, you've been doing this in modding for some years now and not made any money. I want you to give you the chance to make some money from your creation. So I'm forever thankful to him for that.
Yeah. And I'm going to whiz forward a little bit on the story here. So that's, you do consult on that game. It goes in a slightly different direction to the one that you wanted. And, you feel like it gets away from you a bit. And then it's on the last day of your 30s. You're about to turn 40 and you receive an email, I think, from someone in South Korea who says, hey, do you want to come and make your game the way you want to make it? Tell us that story.
Yeah, so it was actually in November of my 39th year. My birthday's in March, and I had got an email and I had a few phone calls with CH in Bluehole at the time, and they told me they wanted to make a battle royale. Would I be interested in coming and talking to them? I flew out in early February. And have a chat, and then talk to the directors, to the whole company. They were pretty happy, and then I was invited to come make the game. And yes, I think 2 days before my 40th birthday, I flew to Korea. I celebrated my 40th birthday with a whole bunch of people I didn't know, but they brought cake, so I was very happy, and it was a nice cake. But yeah, I had a team that they weren't used to making emergent games, and it's something that I found even now, building Prologue and building a team for that making emergent games is not how most game designers think. Like I was asked questions in those early days, how many people in the final circle will have a sniper rifle? I'm like, well, I don't know. Like, how many people will go chasing crates? You don't know. So this was a little bit hard for them, but thankfully I had a great producer with CH who said, look, just trust what he's saying, do what he's asking. And after we launched into early access, it was the head bows were a little bit steeper after that.
Right. What about language barrier? I mean, in a sense, you've been given this amazing opportunity, like, make the thing you've always wanted to make, we'll support you. But also, you're in a completely unfamiliar setting in a country you've never lived in, working with people who don't necessarily speak the language. So how did you navigate that?
It was tough, to be honest, because even basic stuff like going to the supermarket and buying washing detergent. Nothing is in English. Like I speak Portuguese, so most Latin languages you can kind of muddle your way through. Supermercado is a supermercado, right? Like, I mean, in Brazil, I could kind of muddle my way through things. Thankfully, I had Google Translate, thank God, because like without that, I would have been buying bleach instead of washing up liquid. So it was quite an adjustment. And Seoul is a massive metropolis. I mean, it's city for miles, right? I mean, everywhere you're going, it's very busy. But it was a bit of an adjustment, but I had a great team, you know, that were
Is someone
listening to what I was saying.
interpreting for you when you're like...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I had a full-time interpreter that real-time translation for everything I did, so that was great. And some of the team spoke a little bit of English as well, so it wasn't, you know, a complete block of communication. So yeah, it was. That first year there wasn't very many issues of communication because we both spoke language of games, basically, right?
Right.
So,
okay. The game comes out. It earns $11 million in 3 days. Where were you, and how did you find out?
Oh no, we were in Seoul because we were monitoring servers. I was in the office. I had bought some bottles of champagne for the team, and I think once we hit $1 million in sales, we opened some champagne and went, "Yay, well done, everyone! That's great." Didn't quite expect it to go where it did, but I think the numbers took even us by surprise. We didn't expect to see the interest we did, and I think because it grew so quickly, it never really had a chance to settle in, right? Like, I mean, it goes over your head. The numbers are so big, so we just took it in our stride and tried to keep working on making the server stable and the general stuff you do when you launch a game.
I mean, the scale of the success is, you know, incomprehensible. In 2021, the game passed $1 billion in sales. That's of course across PC, but also the mobile versions, etc., etc. I mean, it's on a scale so much larger than most people in culture would ever be aware of, like so much bigger than Harry Potter, for example. And yet, probably you took 100 people in the street and maybe only 5 of them have heard of PUBG. It's one of those strange things with video games, right?
No, but it is like I think the games industry made 3 times more money than movies and film combined, I think, a few years ago. And it's the same, like you hear, as you said, like you hear Avengers, we made $1 billion. Well done. It's like, yeah, we did that last quarter on mobile. You know, that it's the level of money in especially in mobile gaming, it far surpasses so many of the other media industries. And again, I don't think it's, as you said, very well known. I will say I have met a bunch of people throughout the world that I happen to mention I was involved in PUBG, and then they have a story to tell me how they met friends, how they met this, that, and the other through this game. So it's known, but as you said, probably 5 out of 100 people on the street would know what it is.
I mean, aside from that, the sort of, you know, the name recognition in culture, it is like, you know, in a personal sense, the success is gigantic, I imagine. So how did you deal with that? Was that disorientating, you know, your life essentially changing overnight?
Not so much, because I was busy. Like, I was traveling a lot with PUBG, and I honestly haven't had that much time to take a break since why I started in games. You know, I went straight into working in PP. So I guess as well, I'm a little bit older than a lot of people that get success early. So I had that kind of I've never been one to, you know, be flashy or show off or this kind of stuff. I'm quite quiet, introverted. So it meant I could buy nice camera equipment and stuff like this, and I was happy.
Is that how you treated yourself, with a new camera?
Yes, yeah.
Did you get the decks that you'd wanted as a kid?
No. When I first bought my first set of decks, I bought a Technics set of Technics 1210s. I went for the best from the straight. I paid higher purchase. It took me a year to pay them off.
Right.
But I always believed in, if you're going to buy something, you buy it nice or you buy it twice.
Sure.
So with all the stuff I buy, I tend to look for what is the best quality and go for that. It did allow me. I bought myself one of the new Hasselblad handheld cameras, which I love. It just, I'm a big photography nerd, and some of the photographs you can get with that are just wonderful.
Yeah, very nice. Your, I mean, we'll come to your fifth game in a second. Just lastly, you obviously your route into this is quite unorthodox. It's very unusual for a mod for someone else's game to then develop into something so vast. I think unprecedented.
Well, I mean, you say that, but then I would say CS:GO, Dota, DayZ.
Oh, fair.
Now, I mean, even League, I think, may have been a mod at some stage. But like most of the biggest games in the last 20 years have all come from modding.
They grew out of something
then
else,
they have ended up spawning a multitude of copies. And I think, there's a big differentiator here, because I think people who make mods do it from a place of love and passion, where a lot of the bigger AAAs are doing stuff from a point of data and trends. And I don't know if that's the right way to make something new and exciting.
Yeah, very true. I mean, on that note, do you feel like an underdog in any way because of the route that you came in, or do you feel like an outsider to the industry when you go to GDC and give a talk?
Fully outsider. Like,
right.
I mean, I don't know anyone in the industry. I had to be told who Tim from what's his name?
From Epic, you mean?
No, not Tim Sweeney. From Double Fine.
Okay, yeah.
I met him with Danny O'Dwyer, and he said, "Oh, that's Tim." And I said, "Oh, who's he?" It's like, "Oh, Adventures of Monkey Island." I was like, "Oh, right, okay. Now I know who he is." But again, I because I was outside of gaming for so long, I wasn't paying attention. So I don't really have a knowledge of the biggest and brightest stars in gaming. I haven't played a lot of the most loved games. But I kind of, I mean, I get asked a lot, like, what is your advice for people coming into the industry? And I really don't know what to say, because I came in such, as you said, like on an oblique route into it, that it's like, it's very hard for me. The only thing I ever say to them is just follow your passion, right? Just do what you love. And even if the game mode you're doing isn't a trend, or if you enjoy playing it, even if no one loves it, you'll still have something fun to play. But apart from that, I never know what to say, because I don't have a wealth of experience behind me to go, well, you should do this. Thankfully, I've got some good friends now, like David Podfault and stuff, that can help me answer these questions a bit better. But it's still, I feel a heavy imposter syndrome at a lot of times.
Nice. All right, Brendan, let's come to your fifth and your final game. This came out in 2016, so just when you're in the middle of all these things happening. Tell us, what's the game?
So the game is Battlefield 1. I remember playing Battlefield 3, the campaign, and just being blown away, because I had tried some of the Call of Duties, but I just never liked the gunplay. And I had played Battlefield 3, the campaign, and was really blown away by the graphics and by the atmosphere. And then multiplayer, I never really got into. I just felt there was too much on screen. I didn't like the chaos on screen. Same with Battlefield 4. It was wonderful, but it wasn't really my thing. And then Battlefield 1 came along, and I played the campaign, and that was really, like, for me, it was an emotional journey, especially at the start, because it was showing you the horrors of war in a really beautiful way. And then the multiplayer aspect, it had big maps, it had very little on screen, there was bullet drop, there was everything I liked about games. So I really fell hard for the multiplayer of Battlefield 1 and use it as an escape, because if I go play PUBG, I could be locked in for hours, just because you want to get, like, I always get to the top 3, but I don't play enough to take on the folks in the top 2, right? I mean, it's tough, but so Battlefield for me was a nice escape, because I could play a few 15, 20-minute rounds and be done, and not have that need to, I need to win. And I've always gone back to it. I referenced it when we were making PUBG. I referenced the graphics of like, I remember being with our art director in a Battlefield 1 game, just like on the ground, showing him the mud textures, going like, look how good this is. Like, we should be able to do it as good as this, while people were trying to kill you. And you're like, I'm trying to do some research here. Stop trying to kill me.
Looking at the soil.
Exactly. Like wandering around with your head on the ground, looking at stuff. But I use that as a big source of inspiration, because I think how they've made that game look, even to this day, stands up. And I think, it looks good, it plays great, it's got great balance. It's a game that I have something like 1,600 hours in. So if it's not on my console, I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah, very nice. Brendan, let's go through your console. We've got Mud, Delta Force, Black Hawk Down, America's Army 2, Arma, and Battlefield 1. Yes. I mean, PC players are going to love this.
But that's the thing. Like, my brother had a PlayStation 1. And I remember he had Final Fantasy 7, obviously Gran Turismo. I played a bit of Wipeout on that, but I never was a console player. I never really fell down that hole. I was always, like I said, I was jealous of a Commodore 64. I think I was always bound for PC gaming. And because I like shooters, I need my mouse and keyboard. I mean, I tried playing shooters on console, and I stream of words I can't really say publicly, but yes.
Well, you've made a game all about terrain, and it doesn't get more PC than that, I would say.
I will say, I think this is also just a good game for console, right? Because it's just, you're just wandering through a forest. There's no need for the level of precision you need for a shooter. So I think this could work well on console, but it just, again, requires coding effort. It requires a lot of time to refactor and do that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, it is a very different game to the game I love playing. But I've got, I think, in Prologue, probably 300 something hours already of just running through the forest, because, like I said, every world is unique. So I just the joy of discovery and trying to find a cool seed. Like, we just added gliding. So in a mod jam, one of the guys made a glider, right? Just, you can go into free roam mode, I think press K, and out spawns a glider. And then you can just go gliding around these maps. So like, it's just a wonderful way to explore them, and then it's like early days of Minecraft, where you find a really cool seed and you can show that to people, right? And this is what we've seen in the community as well, where they're sharing impossible seeds, which I love to complete. It's once you get to know the game, you can finish it pretty easily, I would say. There'll still be moments where you'll be close to dying, but it's more than about the navigation than the survival. So yeah, I love it, at least.
Okay, we need a name for your console to market to the world. Have you got an idea for what we could call it? I mean, a lot of your stuff comes from your username. I
was going to say, it has to be unknown something, right? The unknown console.
Very good, the unknown console. Love it. All right, we'll call it that. This has been great. Just lastly, with your new game, do you feel like you're still chasing the same feeling you had the first time you played that DayZ mod, or are you chasing something different now?
No, I mean, for me, it's always emergence. It's always about creating this space where these kind of unique things happen, and Prologue is that space for me right now. I mean, as I said, there have been numerous times I have been on death's door, and then suddenly I discover a sauna cabin or something where, and I was playing with Choco Taco on stream, and he had a lot of the same experiences where I was convinced he was dead. I was telling him, yeah, you're not going to survive this. You're dead, dude. And then something happens where he manages to be saved from the brink. So like, you do get this kind of experience that I found through all the games I love. So yeah, I'm not chasing it. I think I'm pretty familiar on how to create it now. So now it's just building different types of experiences using that framework.
Wonderful. Brendan, thanks so much for chatting to us, for telling your story, and for your games as well. Yeah.
No, this has been a great chat. Thank you.
Thank you to my guest, Brendan Greene, also known as PlayerUnknown, which was, of course, the handle that he went by back when he designed the game that would later become PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, or PUBG, as most people around the world know it today. So grateful to Brendan for coming on the show. He was called PlayerUnknown back in the day because he wanted to be anonymous. He's had to let go of that dream, of course, in the years since. You don't get to make a game or any media as important or as culture rattling as PUBG and remain anonymous, I don't think. But still, very glad that Brendan came on the show. He was happy to show his face. We got to see, if you're watching this, we got to see him. I'm not sure where in the world he was when we spoke, but he was certainly in a hotel room somewhere. I think he spends quite a lot of his life jetting around, going from one place to another. The game that he's working on at the moment, of course, if you're watching this on the video on Patreon, then you would have seen some of the beautiful footage, and it really is a lovely looking game. It's called Prologue, Go Way Back. You can download it right now on Steam. It's in early access, so you can give it a go. You can see what all the fuss is about. Is it going to be as big as PUBG? No. Is anything? Who knows? But it is, I think, an exciting, interesting project that I think will go some distance in terms of having an impact. It sounds like, from what Brendan was saying at the end there, that it's going to be coming to console as well, or at very least he was saying that he thinks it's well suited to console because you don't have to have that Twitch aim and things like that. But yeah, I guess we'll see. Keep watching it, wishlist it, download the early access if you're interested. I certainly think everything that Brendan does is worth paying attention to, because PUBG, once again, has really changed the landscape of modern video games. We wouldn't have Fortnite without it, or perhaps we wouldn't have had Fortnite so soon. Of course, Brendan wasn't the only one who was experimenting with whether you could make the Hunger Games into a video game. There were, I believe some people trying it out in Minecraft as well. But his was the game that took. His was the game that inspired Fortnite, that inspired Call of Duty Warzone, H1Z1 of course, is that right? H1Z1? Yes, I think so. And all the other Battle Royale modes. There's one in Forza, isn't there, as well? So, I think we've seen how that particular game design can be applied to all sorts of unlikely genres. And of course, the game is still, incredibly popular. So the games that it's influenced as well. And, Battle Royale as a format, I think, is going to be with us for a very long time. The Battle Royale idea, if you're interested in the history of it, it's very interesting. I wrote a long piece for The New Yorker all about it. How, I think it's called something like How the Battle Royale Changed Video Games, something like that. But it goes into loads and loads of details all the way back to the very first books that it was in, predating Koshin Takumi's book Battle Royale that came out in the 1990s, I think. But yeah, it was really popularized by that Japanese novel, and then by, of course, the film that came out starring Beat Takeshi, the very well-known Japanese actor, also, of course, who lends his name to Takeshi's Castle, which I'm sure many of you will have watched. He's the boss in that. But anyway, Battle Royale, the film, became a sort of huge sleeper hit. When I was a kid, it was going around, inspired all sorts of film directors in the West and Hollywood, and then inspired a clutch of video games. So you want to hear all about the history of that, then head to my New Yorker piece. I'll put a link to it in the show notes. And like I say, download Brendan's new game, Prologue, Go Way Back. And if you've not played PUBG yet, then you can play it on literally every device in your house, I'm sure, including probably your fridge and microwave, but certainly your mobile phone and your PC and your PlayStation and everything else. Okay, that was really fun. I loved having Brendan on the show. Is he the most successful game developer I've had on the show? I don't know. There's, of course, lots of different ways to measure success, as we were talking about. Financial is only one of them. There is, of course, the, cultural impact and all of that. But I think it's fair to say that, PUBG has probably made more money than any other video game whose maker I've had on my perfect console to date, possibly even including Nolan Bushnell. Maybe not sure. Anyway, Right. If you would like to support the podcast and make it as popular as PUBG, we can but dream. Head to patreon.com/myperfectconsole. There you can become a supporter for just a few pounds, a few dollars a month. You'll get your episodes early and ad-free. You'll get your own special feed that comes in audio and it comes in video. We've been doing video podcasts this year. It's been going well. I'm really actually enjoying doing the video ones. I sort of resisted it for a long time. Was a little bit, no, it's all about audio on podcasts, but I have enjoyed doing the video ones. I think particularly with video games, it's nice to be able to show some footage. So if you're interested in seeing those, it's patreon.com/myperfectconsole. You can write to me at myperfectconsole@gmail.com. Give me your feedback, your thoughts, your suggestions for guests who you would like to see on the show this year. I would love to hear those. Thank you to everyone who writes in. I really do appreciate those. I do have people on the show who have been suggested by listeners who have written to me. So once again, that's myperfectconsole@gmail.com. And if you're listening to this on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts, then please do leave us a review. If you're watching it on YouTube, then you're a few weeks out of date because I'm uploading these 3 or 4 weeks after they come out. But anyway, please give us a like. It would be, it does, all this stuff helps other people to find the show, and it just shows us a bit of support as well. If you feel unable to, financially support it, then just giving us a like or a short review is, really meaningful as well. So thanks for all your support. Thank you to those of you who do support in those various ways. And if you enjoyed the show, then at very least subscribe and listen to our 3-year back catalogue. We've had some incredible guests stretching back all the way to 2023. Go back and listen to them all the way. It was bangers right from the start. Josh Wardle, the creator of Wordle, the New York Times hit phenomenon, which I just read is being turned into a TV show in America. He was our very first guest. And from there, we've had, Dara O'Brien, the Irish comedian, relevant to this week's episode with Brendan, growing up in County Kildare, and loads of other people who I would love you to go and listen to their episodes as well. Right, speaking of which, next week, I've got one more thing that I wanted to say. In that interview, we talked about fireman games, didn't we? Firefighting games. And I said I didn't think there'd been a firefighter game. Even as I was saying it, I imagined myself screaming at my podcast app saying Burning Rangers on the Sega Saturn. That is a firefighting game by Sonic Team. It's really one of the best 3D games. There weren't many good 3D games on the Sega Saturn. There were many, many very good 2D ones, but 3D games, Burning Rangers is one of the really good ones. And it's a game by Sonic Team, who at the time were one of the best development teams working in video games. They made this game where you play as superhero firefighters and you go and rescue people. Very specifically, they wanted to make a game in which you rescued people rather than shot them, and Burning Rangers was that game. It's extremely expensive to buy now because of its quality and rarity, so it will set you back definitely more than £100 if you try and buy that for your Sega Saturn, but you can try it out on emulation devices, I'm sure. I don't think, it's not like Sega has re-released it, so I'm sure there are ways for you to play it. I also did some searching to see what other games had come out. There was in fact a firefighter game that predated Burning Rangers called The Fireman on the Super Nintendo, an isometric action game focused almost entirely on extinguishing fires and rescuing people. I do think I played that as well. It had a sequel called The Fireman 2, released only in Japan. The Fireman 2, Pete and Danny. So, if you're interested in that, hunt that down. There was a surprisingly earnest Konami published PlayStation 2 game that was inspired by Backdraft, if you remember that film, called Firefighter FD18. It's probably the closest thing to a serious firefighting hybrid action game from that era. Then more recently, there was Real Heroes Firefighter, a first-person firefighting game that uses the Wii Remote for hose handling, because of course it does. Then the lots of indie games as well, more recently, such as Nuclear Blaze, which was made from one of the creators of Dead Cells. I absolutely love Dead Cells. So yeah, I've not played Nuclear Blaze, but I'd like to try that one out. And a roguelike firefighting game titled Fire Girl Hack and Splash Rescue. So yeah, that's got procedural burning buildings in it apparently. So yeah, there you go, take your pick. Of course, there are for every niche. There is an indie game and there's probably a Super Nintendo game as well. So go back, try out some of those if you're interested in trying out some of those firefighter games. If I've missed any, then please do let me know, write to me and give me a heads up. And yeah, maybe I'll add them to the show notes as well. Right, next week, my guest is an absolutely amazing fantasy novelist. She is one of the biggest writers working in the genre known as romantasy, or maybe romantic fantasy. Apparently, these things are distinct, and people who are into this kind of stuff really care about it. Her name is Elise Kova. She started in 2012 when she wrote a book called Air Awakens as a hobby. She started posting chapters online and building a little community of devoted readers. That took off. It got bigger and bigger. In 2015, she decided to start publishing it properly herself. And within a year, she became a full-time author and on the bestseller list for the New York Times, for USA Today. Now she publishes with, some of the biggest, one of the big 5 publishers in the world. And yeah, she's got a string of beloved fantasy series. If you're into this kind of stuff, she's a really, really big deal. She is very much the Brendan Greene of romantasy, I think it's fair to say. And her new book is called Prince of Swords, that's coming out imminently. It's the sequel to Arcana Academy. Elise is great. She has such a cool story. She absolutely loves video games. Her choice is all bangers. It's going to be one of the most popular consoles of the year, I think. And yeah, I think you're really going to enjoy my conversation with her. So please do join me once again next week when I'll be back with Elise with her 5 games and with one more perfect console.